topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. 12 years ago, I had this idea to offer educational information on multiple topics and really educate people that they have a show that they can get information that it's going to help them throughout their lives. Our first show this morning is one of the shows that I absolutely had in mind when I was putting this together. We just got a phone call right before the show telling us how much they enjoy a show like Provise does, and that he's been listening to us for 2 years, and he really complimented our next expert, Ray Ferrara, and he's actually a client of theirs. But he just called just to say how much he enjoys the show, and that's what this is about. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Steve. Nice to be with you as always.
Hello, Ray.
I'm here.
Okay.
Can you not hear me?
I hear you. Yes, I hear you.
All right. Good. Well, good morning, Steve.
Yeah, that was a nice way to start the morning off. And, you offer so much great information, Ray. And, you've built up such an organization. Your show is now statewide throughout Florida. Tell people about your company.
Well, Provise Management Group is a financial planning and investment management firm. And we always stress the financial planning first because we think that everyone should have a written financial plan. We know that with having written down our goals and anything in life, we want it prepared in advance to know what we're going to do. You don't want a lawyer to go into court without a plan. You don't want a doctor to start operating without a plan. And we don't think you should deal with your finances without a plan. And once we do that plan and understand your goals, your motivations, your values about money, we believe we're able to do a better job investing that money. And we are currently investing about $2 billion on behalf of our roughly 1,200 clients scattered over 30-some states. And we have offices, Steve, as you know, in Clearwater, which is our main office, and also one in the West Shore area of Tampa. But it's amazing in this day of technology, we're able to deal with those people in those other 30 plus states using Zoom. So folks from Miami, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, cover the state, more than happy to be able to work with them. And just right up front, just to remind everybody, we always offer a complimentary 1-hour consultation in either our Clearwater or Tampa office or by Zoom, whatever is most convenient. Just I kind of get to know you. Nothing more than that. Don't have to bring any paperwork. Don't have to do anything. It's just let's sit down and just talk and get to know each other.
Ray, you've built a company that has such an impeccable reputation, and that's pretty amazing in your line of work, because there's always people out there who felt like they were short-sighted, but we don't get that with Provise. You've just built up such an amazing company.
Well, Steve, thanks. We work hard on behalf of our clients. We work at a fiduciary standard of care, which means we always have to put our clients' interest ahead of our own. We are very proud of our reputation, and we work hard not only to build on it, but to keep it that way.
Yeah, sometimes I think, God, does Ray pinch himself in the mornings from where he started the company to where he is now?
Well, it's been an interesting journey that we've enjoyed since August of 1986 when we formed the company, and never thought that it would get to be what it is today, but delighted that it is, with 14 advisors that we have, plus a beautiful staff of 16 people who handle all of the back office and paperwork for us.
Well, let's get right to the show. We got a letter from Jennifer in Naples. She said, I just inherited my mother's IRA, which is substantial. I want to hold on to it until I retire in another 10 years. How should I invest it?
Well, it is a little complicated. So my first piece of advice is go visit with your financial planner. If you don't have one, take advantage of our free consultation. Be happy to explain it in much more depth than we can do here this morning. Secondly, be sure to visit with your tax advisor because it's going to depend on how old your mother was when she passed away. If she had not started her required minimum distributions, then you can roll this into a beneficial IRA, and you have to take money out no later than the end of the 10th year following your mother's death. Now, you can take out as much or as little as you want anytime over the 10 years, but it must all come out at the end of the 10 years. If your mom had reached the age where she was required to take distributions from her IRA, then you too are going to have to take distributions every year for the next 10 years until you totally exhaust it at the end of the 10 years. So first thing was mom taking her distribution, her mandatory distributions or not? And then that will determine how you are able to do it. It's a little more complicated than that, Jennifer. So again, visit with your financial planner, visit with your tax advisor to make sure that you're going to be doing it in a proper way.
Ray, just give everybody your phone number while after this question. I think we're going to be doing it throughout the show, but give everybody the phone number.
Sure. The two ways to reach us. The first is to give us a call, as you'll see it's scrolling across the bottom right now, 727-441-9022, 727-441-9022, or go to our website, provise.com, and you can leave your name and number there, and we'll get back to you with phone call. Or you can email me at info@provise.com, info@provise.com.
You know, it's funny. People say, if you're going to go have dinner with family, make sure not to talk about politics or religion. But with our show, I mean, especially when it comes to money matters, you do get into politics. And here's a letter from Eugene in Pinellas Park. The president and former president are going to debate soon. That's the next couple of weeks. I don't know who to vote for, but want a better economy. How will the presidential election affect the stock and bond markets?
Whoa, that's a hot potato.
I know. That'll wake you up early in the morning.
So, Eugene, study after study after study shows that at the end of the day, there is very little difference between there being a Democrat in the White House versus a Republican being in the White House. Now, one would think that the most could get accomplished would be when the same party controls Congress and is in the White House. But actually, it's very ironic, at least from a legislative standpoint, that the biggest part of the work gets done when one party controls the White House and another party controls both houses of Congress. So think about that for a moment. Now, if you actually go back and look at the stock market following the election of a Democrat over a Republican, you will find a slight difference for better returns in the market under a Democratic president than you would under a Republican. Very small difference, but there is a positive difference that exists. Now, what you'll hear is from the Democrats, of course, is, well, see how great we are at managing the economy, and the stock market has a tendency to go up when we're in office. And the Republicans always say, yeah, but we were there just before you got there and had to fix everything that you messed up before when you were in the White House, and we fixed it, and that you're the beneficiary of what we did over 4 or 8 years. Let me simply say that, first of all, be sure to vote. That's the most important thing. No matter who you're going to vote for or how you're going to vote, you have to vote. That's your American responsibility. But in terms of our pocketbook issues, clearly it is at the forefront of this election in November. As well as our economy is doing, many people do not feel it's doing as well as it seems to. And they are suffering because of the large inflation. And in spite of the fact that unemployment is at some of the lowest levels it's been at years, although it ticked up a little bit this past month, people are feeling the pressure from the inflation that we experienced following COVID. So we expect the pocketbook issues to be major, and that's how we think most people are going to make a decision as to how they vote. But again, I don't care who you vote for, but please go out and vote.
Very, very good advice. There's I think 5 or more meetings for the Federal Reserve Board this year. What do you think we can expect from them?
So they just met last week, and they dialed down their anticipation of of interest rate reductions from 3 in 2024 to 1. 3 is at the beginning of the year. 6 is what most people expected. As we've talked about, Steve, here a number of times, we thought there would be 3. So we were half of what consensus was at the beginning of the year. And now it says 1, and I'm only giving that 1 reduction a 50-50 chance. And it's either, I'm going to guess it'll be after the elections if it happens. It's just hard for me to visualize at either the July meeting or the September meeting that they would reduce interest rates. So that's where they are. They did say that they thought there would be numerous reductions in 2025. And while all of us want to go back to those low interest rates where nobody was making any money on their savings accounts and people were able to borrow money at a very low rate, I wouldn't expect, even when they reduce it, that we would go back to where we were as we went through COVID. Maybe we could see short-term interest rates in the 2.5% range, maybe 2%, down from the 5.25% that we're at right now. But to expect them to go back down to 0.25% where they were during the COVID and pre the Federal Reserve starting to raise interest rates a little over 2 years ago, we just don't see that happening. So at best, 1 cut this year, maybe a series of them next year, but don't expect it to go back to 0 where it was.
Here's a text that just came in from a listener. Love the show. I have many stocks that are losing money. Do you think it's wise to hold on to them to see if President Trump is the next president? I think things could change for the better. What is your advice?
So I'm not going to give you any advice relative to Trump being better or worse. But here's my advice, regardless of who's president and at any given time. It's very easy for us to find the enthusiasm to buy a stock. We're motivated because we think the company is going to do well. And sometimes it does, but sometimes, as you just described, it doesn't. And so
Yes.
Here are the words I want you to remember. The time to sell is when it's no longer time to buy. Now, here's what I mean by that, Steve. If you buy a share of stock at $10 a share, and let's suppose you're right and it goes up to, let's say, $16 a share, a lot of people will say, well, I don't want to sell it because then I have to pay capital gains taxes on that $6 that I earned. Or they might say, I'm going to hold it until it gets to 17 and a half. Don't ask me why 17 and a half, but people come up with some really weird numbers at a time. Excuse me. However, the real question to ask yourself when it got to 16 is, would I buy more at 16? And if the answer to that is yes, hold on or buy more. If the answer to that is no, what you've basically said is you don't believe there's any enough future value in that stock for you to invest at 16. So it's no longer time to buy, therefore it's time to sell. Now, conversely, if you buy that same stock at 10 and it goes to 5, most people, Steve, are going to say, well, Ray, I'm not going to sell it until it gets back to even, which is a lot of what's being said here. And the fact is, you need to ask yourself the same question. Did I make a mistake or is the market making a mistake? Would I buy more of it at 5? And if the answer to that is yes, I buy more of it and average down if that's what you want to do. If, on the other hand, you say, buy more of this dog, are you kidding me? Heck no. Well, what you basically said is you were wrong. There's not future value in the stock on a go-forward basis. Sell it, take the loss. You can use it to offset gains in other places. And then on top of that, you can reinvest the money back into another stock where you have conviction and hopefully double your money so that you get back to even again, but in a different stock. So just simply say, whenever you're thinking about a stock, would I buy more at this price? If the answer is heck no, it's a dog, or heck no, it's too expensive, it's time to sell and find a different investment for the future, because you've said there's no value in the stock in the first place.
That's good advice. Ray, there's a stock, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it. Is it NVIDIA? NVIDIA?
Yeah, NVIDIA.
I heard it's a good company, and it's still a good investment at this point, given the run the stock has had over the past year. What are your thoughts?
So, Steve, I want to be very careful talking about a single stock, because I don't want to give any advice about buying or selling about a specific stock. But yes, NVIDIA has had a unbelievable run over the last couple of years. And there are those that believe that it still has a long way to run. What I do know is that it has a very high price to earnings ratio that I won't say it's atmospheric, but it's high. And I'm always careful in buying any stock with a very high PE ratio, price to earnings ratio. Now, typically the market, the broad market, is going to sell in the S&P 500 at about 16 to 17 times earnings, meaning it would take 16 or 17 years for you to earn your money back that you have invested. Now, in the situation with NVIDIA, and I believe the price to earnings ratio now is in the upper 30s, it's some 30 years it would take to get those earnings back. Well, the only way that it would make sense to buy into a company like that and many other growth companies is if you believe it's going to grow even faster than it's been growing in the past. And there are people on both sides of the aisle with NVIDIA that say, "Oh yes, it's just getting started. It's got these wonderful chips, and they're coming out with a new version." And then there's the other side that said, "Well, maybe all of that's true, but other people are going to catch up and will price at a slightly lower price to grab market share, and that will slow down NVIDIA's growth." The smart thing to do is if you're interested in chips is there's a ETF out there that you can buy that incorporates many of all of the major chip makers. So you're going to buy a little bit of each of them. But at a minimum, you want to buy 3, maybe 4 of the companies if you prefer to own individual ones. Don't ever bet everything on one stock within a particular industry. Yeah, you can get lucky like the shareholders have the last couple of years in NVIDIA, but it's not a good plan to greater wealth.
You know, Ray, I keep hearing that Texas wants to start their own stock exchange. Anything you can tell us about that?
Well, there are those who believe that there needs to be some competition with the exchanges that exist today, including the New York Stock Exchange. But Texas has certainly indicated that they want to start their own. And I lived in Texas for 2 years, so when they tell me everything's bigger in Texas, believe it. It is.
I know. I'm from Texas too.
We'll have to see how all of that comes down. That's a steep hill to climb. I love the enthusiasm. I love the enthusiasm, et cetera. But and I won't say that it can't happen. But the question is it can happen, but can you make money at it? And that's the real question at this point. So I would expect them to actually end up doing it, but it's going to be a steep hill in order to make money and to attract investors to that new exchange.
Ray, we got a few minutes left. Tell people, and you can brag, it's okay. Tell people why they should have you to represent them, your company, when it comes to money management.
So, Steve, everybody asks us, well, aren't you like everybody else? And the answer is, sure, in many ways we are. But our distinguishing feature that I believe exists is what I talked about right at the beginning of the show, that we are planners, and we believe in financial planning. And that is our distinguishing feature. You know, my major role, but by the way, Steve, you do not want me investing your money. That's why I've got 3 qualified folks led by one of our partners who are the ones that do the investing piece. But if you're going to do the planning piece, either at the beginning, and by the way, financial planning isn't a one and done. It's an ongoing process because goals change, goals are achieved, stuff happens. That's a very scientific financial planning term called stuff. And so you have to be able to adjust. And with a written financial plan, we believe people have a greater chance of success than they do without it. And you know, if you have never hired a financial planner and they don't want to do a written plan, find somebody who does, because it will make a difference. And if you have a planner and they've never written a financial plan for you, then try to find another one, in our opinion. So we believe that the plan is the heartbeat of the financial life, and that with a plan that you have a much better chance of success. And when we write the plan, we do charge a fee to do a plan based, again, upon how complicated the plan might be. But it's not horribly expensive, and it's a great first step. And again, we work at a fiduciary standard of care where we always put your interests first. Take advantage of our 1-hour complimentary consultation in our Clearwater or Tampa offices or via Zoom. You can call the office. The number is there strolling across the bottom at 727-441-9022, or send me an email at info@provise.com. And we'd be happy to schedule that meeting. Let's just get to know each other. That's all that it's about. And if it's not a good fit, and if we're not the right firm for you, maybe we can make a recommendation to someone who is.
Ray, as always, we love doing this show. We love what you offer our listeners and viewers. You'll be back with us again in a couple of weeks. Ray, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Steve, take care and have a wonderful week.
You too. That's Ray Farrar, Provise Money Management. They've been with us for 4 years now, and just an incredible company when it comes to wealth management. Provise. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we have more Ask the Experts.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests. Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.